he taught me that don't consider LinkedIn as a platform where you can sell or gain followers. Use LinkedIn as a book where you can find cool and cool, interesting people. So later on, when I look into that, I started this podcast. Now I'm interviewing crazy and crazy people. I don't care about the numbers. At some point
the
of
numbers
time,
the numbers mean very little. You can have 100,000 people following you that don't really care about what you do, or they're no useful. 100. What's that saying? Like 100 people who love what you do are worth far more than 100,000 that are just there to sit on the sidelines. So the numbers, it's quantity over quality, I think, when it comes to those sorts of numbers. And you'll never know that by looking at someone's figure. You'll never know if they're actually doing well from that. So it's pointless to judge how you're doing based on someone else's arbitrary follower number. It means nothing.
So hello guys, welcome to the new episode of Digital Brandator Show. I am the show host and your host, Digital AK-47. So today we have Mr. Officer, the great Dave. So basically I met Dave very recently, but I was following his work for since long, like 6 to 7 months I was following your work. So basically recently I was into branding and stuff for many people. So I usually help people with their branding and identity. So I usually look for inspirations around LinkedIn. So I look up with your profile, like some of your designs were outstanding. Then I went to your backstory.
Thank you, man.
Then I went to your backstory. You are a studio manager, you are a drummer. What else that you have not done in your life? So a small introduction from yourself will be great for my audience.
What am I not telling you?
Sorry?
God, how long have you got? I never did a traditional design job. So I'm the worst person to talk to if you want to learn about fundamentals and stuff they actually teach you, because I never did any of that. Because that stuff always bores me, like especially even in drumming. Like if a professional teacher of drumming ever watched me drum, they would cringe, because I never sat down and learned any of the rudiments or any of the fundamentals of doing any of that, because that bored me. Because the fun part about playing drums is just hitting stuff. So that's all I wanted to do. And I'll just listen to what other people do and see if I can figure that out, and then okay, I'll do that. And I kind of approach design in the same way. I'm not a very good student, so if anyone tries to teach me stuff, my mind is always elsewhere. So I find it very hard to not not fall into a boredom-induced coma when people are trying to teach me things. No, even if I'm fascinated by the subject, I can't do it. So I've just got to go off on my own and just try and play around and figure things out myself. So I knew from a very young age that if I got a design job, I would probably dislike it. If I got a job in an agency and I had these sort of very prescriptive briefs and somebody over me saying you've got to design this way, I was pretty sure that I would not last very long. So I didn't go down that route. I studied graphic design in college and stuff, and then when it came to getting a job, I thought, no, this probably isn't for me, because I'll stop enjoying it. So I'm just going to keep it as something I really enjoy doing when it came to illustration and just typography and all that kind of stuff. Keep it as a little hobby, something, so it stays as a love, and don't destroy it by going to do it for the man. So I did that, and that was probably a stupid decision, because I went on to do a load of jobs that I didn't really care about. And it wasn't until my sort of mid 30s when I had a full-time job, but I was also doing a lot of design work on the side. I've always done it. Like I've been doing it for like 12 years on the side before I started doing it for myself. So I was learning a hell of a lot and getting better at doing client work and stuff, but just on my own terms, whenever I had the time for it, whenever I wanted to do it and that kind of stuff. And then in my mid-30s, it just became this bubbling sort of need to work for myself and do this for myself. And I'd never worked for myself before. I didn't know anybody who'd worked for themselves. So I didn't really have the confidence to do it any earlier than that. It kind of, there wasn't any like specific thing that happened in my life that gave me a kick to do it. It was always there in the back of my mind. And I suppose the older and older that I got, that voice just got louder and louder and louder until I could hear nothing else. And like, just you've got to do this, or you will lie on your deathbed regretting that you never gave it a shot. Even if it crumbles in flames, just go and try and work for yourself. You'll probably figure it out. If you're willing to work hard enough, you'll probably figure it out. So give it a shot. And so did that. And here we are. It's going okay so far. So
good, so good. And like, even though I am not a good designer, even because like I never done a proper digital I have done a digital marketing course because my core is digital marketing. So later the craze of designing was raised in me in the pandemic. So basically all were stuck in the home. So I recently downloaded Illustrator. Then I started designing stuff. So like, even some of my clients were telling that your design is not doing a good job, your designer needs improvement. So like I always usually sit on a Zoom call with him, like, what's wrong with you, dude? Like, my creativity is dying. You are coming up with good ideas, but why don't you put some designs into visuals so that people can see that how you can. He actually said me that you will never understand the pain of a design. That line hurt me a lot. Then I started designing myself. Then after that, watching a lot of YouTube videos, then watching most of the people's inspiration, how they do. So from there, I found you, and many people I found, even though I'm connected with them as well. So like, I am a self-taught designer. I'm not a like exact designer. Like, I'm not a professional designer, but yes, I'm a creative artist where I can add my creative ideas into visuals, which can attract people. So like, how similar are you? Like, how technically you are strong enough so that even though I have seen some of your creative designs recently, Squid Game one, and the one drawing that you are doing with your iPad on your YouTube video, so that design, those were like completely blown up. So like, what's your cycle of creating a design? Like, you sketch it out first, then you put it on visual, or you straightly start from an empty canvas?
Yeah, generally empty canvas, and generally it just starts as a load of very rough shapes. So it depends what I'm doing, really, because a lot of I tend to do a lot more illustrative work at the minute, and they tend to start as like, you figure out the general composition of how everything is going to sit, so that starts with very, very basic shapes at the beginning, to like, where is, if it's character against a scene, then very, very basic shapes to see how it will sit together. Are you going to split everything into thirds and have your character on the third and then your background taking up the rest, or does it need a place for text and all that kind of stuff? Do you take into consideration? But just really like block it out in very, very, very simple shapes to begin with, and go, okay, this is the layout, this is how everything's going to look. And then just start building on that is generally what I do. I approach it in the same way for logo design, really. Starts with very basic shapes, build it up, build it up, build it up. I think the mistake I made early on was worrying about everything having to look really good quickly. Whereas part of the beauty in what I do now is like, things look messy for a while, and learning to kind of embrace the fact that the first sort of half an hour to an hour of when you start something, it's going to look horrific, but you're just trying to figure out where things should sit, and the spacing and the placement and all that kind of stuff. And it'll look messy as hell while you're trying to figure all that out, but you can iterate and iterate and iterate until you start building on it and building on it and building on it. Because I used to just do like one sketch, especially if I was doing like an illustration. I used to think I need to nail this in one sketch and then start like finalizing it after that. And more often than not, at the end, I was never happy with it. And what I realized is that I wasn't giving it enough time and attention. So when you start an illustration, it'll start off with one sketch that'll be incredibly rough. Lower the opacity of that, throw another one on top of it where you start to refine it more, you start to figure out where it's going. Yeah. Then maybe another one after that, if that's still not there, and then you finally get something you're like, right, okay, now we're getting somewhere. This is starting to take shape. So learning not to rush things was a big learner for me when I was beginning, because you kind of feel inferior. You know, when you see all those Instagram posts, Instagram is the devil. I think, because especially it's pure evil. So when you go onto it and you look around and you see like someone will have posted a work in progress shot, and that looks better than anything you have done that's the final piece of work, and you're like, what? But you don't see the full story. You don't see, like, you think to yourself, that person has sat down, done that sketch, and then taken a shot, and then they'll go and finalize it, but they haven't. That's probably the fourth or fifth attempt at the sketch, like building on top of it. And it's those kind of things.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dave. Even I saw on your profile as well, like in your YouTube channel, the shot of drawing and design and your iPad got something around like 3,000 or 2,000 views, and the final image which you did has got like around 300 to 400 views. Even though I saw on your YouTube as well recently. So this happens with every platform as well.
It's all, so the work in progress stuff, I think it's useful to show it, but it's also useful to show it in its really filthy stage, as well as its, like, here's it in its absolute inception when it's terrible. Here's it in its next stage. Here's it in its next stage. Here's it in its final stage is useful. I'm not particularly good yet at showing all of that. I should probably be better, but I think that's probably a more useful way to show people the creative process rather than always showing it as the final spanky, beautiful thing.
Oh, but the Squid Game one was like the epic one I have ever seen in your YouTube videos.
Which one's that?
The Squid Game one.
Oh, yeah. Yes, because I did, because I think in that one I showed that I do start that with just a load of circles.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's literally, I start that with circles and then the shape around it, and then I build on top of that, and then I build on top of it again. So yeah, I did show it in that one, yeah.
So like how long did it took to complete that masterpiece?
The Squid Game one?
Yes.
Probably... I'm really bad at timing things. I think it was probably 3 hours, maybe, something like that.
Oh my God. So
3 hours, 4 hours, maybe.
Your effort were clearly shown in that video. So that was like absolutely mind blown. Like when I saw that video, like, oh my God, man. Even though the real poster looks fail to your design. You have created that.
No one watches my YouTube videos, so I appreciate it. Thanks.
No, usually like because my style is like, if I'm interviewing a person, I should ask questions related to his niche. Because I can't ask questions related to my industry. Like I can't ask you that how is SEO working for you or how is social media working for you. So it will not make sense to that guest if I'm inviting a people. I usually do a research R&D and I prepare a questions. So I'm heading towards the question from now. So like I have prepared 3 to 4 questions I want to ask you special. So that will be related to your experience, related to your love, related to your life even as well. So like,
Yeah.
let's starting with the first question, like why you came, like not even like why, like how you came into social media with presenting your designs and portfolio. Like what inspired, like even though I can all, even I am being into the social media for the 4 years as of now, even though I have seen a lot of people are building their personal brands. So like what craze like started in you, or who was your inspiration, or who motivated you to build a personal brand, and especially on LinkedIn, even you are doing good at YouTube as well.
So when I started working for myself, I thought, right, I need to get into social media. Obviously, it's stupid not to. And at the time, the only one I'd really done anything on was Instagram, and I'd only done that very sporadically. And that was while I was working full time, and I was doing my own stuff just on the side, like the occasional evening and weekends. So I was posting very infrequently, and I didn't understand how social media worked. So I would throw up something once every couple of weeks or something, and it would obviously like always bomb, and I'd be like, oh, this is crap. How do people build followings on these, not realizing that I was putting zero effort in. So I started working for myself, and I was looking around, and I thought, right, for the first year, I need to take one of these platforms really seriously. I need to hammer down on it and see which one works. And as I was looking around, I could tell, now this is 2000 and this is 2019. So I thought, right, Instagram's reach was already shocking at that stage.
Yes.
The organic reach was still pretty crap. Any of Zuckerberg's platforms are awful, in my opinion. But so there was that. There was a few others. TikTok wasn't around then, and that kind of stuff. So I did a bit of research, and I could see that the one that had the most, still had the most organic reach, was LinkedIn. And it was also a place there weren't many people in my industry posting, from what I could see anyway. I was searching hashtags and trying to find other designers, illustrators, and I couldn't see anybody really using the platform. So I thought this could be an opportunity. I could stand out because no one else is doing anything, and the organic reach on there still seems to be fairly strong. So let's try it. And again, I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. So I started posting some pretty bland stuff. The usual kind of, here's a job I've done for a client. You just show what you've done, no context, no story. Who's going to care except you and the person you've done the work for? No one else is going to care. So I was posting that kind of stuff. I was finding articles that were interesting to me, commenting on them, sharing the link. I'm falling asleep just talking about it. So it was boring. Yeah, the kind of thing that a lot of people still do on there, and it's dull. It's not going to get you anywhere. So the more I used it, the more confident I got posting stuff. Even though, bearing in mind, the first 3-4 months on there, it was tumbleweeds. Not much was happening, but I knew I had to persevere with it. I was like, I'm going to go all in on this platform for 12 months. And something will happen. And if I'm on there every day, not necessarily posting every day, but on there every day, commenting, being seen, reaching out to people, messaging people, that's the big thing, especially with a platform like LinkedIn. If you're not engaging with it constantly, it seems to, I'm no expert on it, it seems to reward you for actively engaging on the platform.
And also being consistent.
So if you're creating, so if you're posting out your own content, that doesn't seem to be enough. You've got to also be active on the website. So started doing that a bit more and posting maybe like 2-3 times a week. And the more I did it, the more confident I got with it. And the more I started to look back on what I was posting, I realized that the stuff I'm posting out doesn't actually represent who I am. It's not showing any of my personality. It's not showing how I approach a project. It's not showing. I go through life like an idiot, right? So I don't take myself particularly seriously. I take the work I do very seriously, but myself not seriously at all. And I thought I need to start kind of taking the piss a little bit here and just having a laugh, or I'm not going to enjoy this and I'm not going to keep it up. So I just started doing some stuff that I find funny, and there wasn't like a strategy behind it necessarily. I just thought I'm going to do stuff that I enjoy doing. If it's a funny idea and I think I'll enjoy creating it, that's what I'll do, and I'll put it out. As soon as I started doing that, it started to shift. I had the idea. The real tipping point for me was when I did a parody ad campaign, where I took a brand that existed and I said, wouldn't it be funny if these guys advertised themselves in this way? And I created a couple of posters for it and a couple of other things. And bearing in mind, at that time, I had probably maybe like 1,500 to 2,000 connections on LinkedIn, not very many. And I put this parody ad out, and it got seen by just shy of 1 million people. And it got loads of engagement and loads of comments, and my inbox went bonkers.
Full up.
Went up. Yeah, it went mental, and I thought, okay, this is interesting. This site definitely has some legs if I can figure out how to use it like this. Because off the back of that one post, like I had got no work from LinkedIn prior to that, and I'd been using it consistently for about 5 months. And this was around sort of month 6, I think, of using it. And that one post brought me in a ton of work, an absolute ton of work. And I thought, God damn, if I can replicate that once a month even, I'll be sorted. So I kind of, at that point, I went really all in on it and tried to find a nice balance between amusing and useful. So every so often I would post out some stuff that was, I thought, genuinely useful, whether it was a list of resources or here's how you can do this or here's how you can do that, blah, 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 little carousel posts and stuff. And then intersperse them with me just being a moron and just doing silly things that I find funny. And that seemed to be kind of like the sweet spot, and it brought in work. So I thought, right, this is cool. Then we hit 2020. We all know what happened in 2020.
The baddest dream of many
March
people.
March 2020, when everything kicked off, I thought, oh damn, this could all dry up. So I need to go full in. And the first sort of few weeks of lockdown, I kind of locked myself in a room and created a ton of content, the stuff that I thought would be useful, would help people at a time when everything seemed uncertain. And I tried to get at some really useful things and put a ton of time and effort into that. And 2020 was like an insanely successful year in terms of the work that I got. It went really, really well. And it's all thanks to LinkedIn. So we get to the end of 2020 and we're going into 2021, and I'm thinking to myself, I want to branch out and go into other platforms. I'm actually really enjoying creating content. And it's a nice balance to split your week up between client work and creating content, because obviously the client work pays the bills, but you're ultimately creating for someone else. If you can separate time during the week to create content just for you, A, you will have fun doing it, and B, it turns into its own marketing, because it is the thing that brings me in more work, and it keeps me creative and doing my own thing at the same time. So it's a nice little balance. So I thought, I'm going to try a few other little things here. I'm going to try TikTok. I'm going to try YouTube. I'm going to try a few others. Instagram, I still kind of post occasionally on, but I don't really take it that seriously. The reason that I kind of post on there is a lot of people will ask if you've got an Instagram account doing the kind of stuff that I do. So I'm there. So I'm there just to be seen to be there. I don't have many followers on there. I don't really give it much attention, if I'm honest. The one like LinkedIn is great for me. TikTok has done fairly well for me as well, which is weird. But the one that I really want to make work, and it's the one that will take a lot of time, I know, is YouTube. It's the one I really, really want to make that one work. But I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I'm in all of them for the long haul. It's only really been 2.5 years I've been doing it consistently. I don't have, I wouldn't call the followings I have like big, in comparison to a lot of other people at all.
For many
it's just a number. It's all about what you can do with that number. And I know a lot of people who have, who get a lot of work on LinkedIn, especially with a very small number of followers. It's all about how you monetize what you do and how you can use that audience. So, chasing after the big numbers isn't always appropriate. You don't have to have massive numbers to do well.
I don't even play the number game yet. I don't even play the number game.
No. It's a losing battle, really, if you do. If you're looking, because what you'll do, and I did it for a time, because I think everybody does, it's only natural, is you'll compare yourself to other people doing sort of similar things to you, and you'll see these massive numbers that they've got, and you're thinking, you bastard, how are you managing that? But what you lose sight of is the fact that you're still actually doing okay. I can still feed myself. I've got a roof over my head, and I'm doing a job I enjoy. I can't really ask for more than that in life. It's pretty sweet. So to beat yourself up because you don't have, tens of thousands of followers is ridiculous. If you're getting work through it and you're getting enjoyment from it, then that's all you can really ask for through it. So, yeah.
Even obviously, like when I started my personal brand, so like I usually I had a bad habit of comparing everyone with me. Like this person, like yesterday he had 12,000 followers and I had 10,000. How he increased by 2,000 followers just by a night? So like I was starting comparing. I was losing my hope. I was losing the belief in me. Then later on, like I sat with a person before starting this podcast, like I usually go to a person, just hang out with him. Even he's also my virtual friend. So basically, LinkedIn has given me some coolest people. He taught me that don't consider LinkedIn as a platform where you can sell or gain followers. Use LinkedIn as a book where you can find cool, interesting people. So later on, when I look into that, I started this podcast. Now I'm interviewing crazy people. I don't care about the numbers.
The numbers, the numbers mean very little. You can have 100,000 people following you that don't really care about what you do, or they're no useful. 100. What's that saying? Like 100 people who love what you do are worth far more than 100,000 that are just there to sit on the sidelines. So the numbers, it's quantity over quality, I think, when it comes to those sorts of numbers. And you'll never know that by looking at someone's figure. You'll never know if they're actually doing well from that. So it's pointless to judge how you're doing based on someone else's arbitrary follower number. It means nothing.
It makes sense. So like heading to the next question of my podcast is like, people usually looks your profile for as an inspiration mind. So basically most of the people even though one, obviously me, so like if I want to see some inspiration, if I want to refresh myself, even I'm looking for some new ideas, I usually go to LinkedIn and find some new people. So like what's your inspiration before starting a concept? So like even if most of my audience are also into branding and building designs, so people usually look up for the like, bro, even I need to design my own brand, so I don't know how to start it. Is there is any guidelines, there is any rules? So usually what I tell to my audience, because like I even provide free consultation to any people all around the world. Like I open my calendar link. If anyone wants to talk to me related to branding, they are free to reach out to me from 9 a.m. to the night 3 a.m. So like I am open for this whole long clock. So people can reach out to me at any time for branding. So the most of the common factor people actually asking to me is like, how do I start? So I have a very common answer, and I would love to hear your answer as well. So like, don't think of and good design, because like big inventions start from a little space. Even Apple's first logo was different, and what we know all what Apple is now. So like even when I started, my logo was just AK47 in an orange text in a black background. And today I have my own vector design I drawn for myself. I used my friend's hand to get design my logo. Then later on I did my branding. Then I did my branding collateral. So the how you grow, I usually do a milestone of myself that you don't overachieve others, you overachieve yourself. So that's where you can build your own brand. So what's your answer, Dave?
Yeah. So what you want to know how I approach a new project? Like where do I get?
Not about approaching clients or not about getting clients. So like approaching your brand, like believing in your brand and how to take your brand to the next level. So like even you have started your personal brand, you are doing what you are doing before and how you improve yourself over the period of time, a small time gap, something like that.
Okay, so my own personal one, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I changed it loads when I was working for somebody else. And the danger, I think the danger in when it comes to doing something for yourself that you do for other people, you can massively overthink it. Because if I'm telling someone that I design logos and I do visual identity, then mine needs to be shit hot, right? Mine needs to be amazing. So you can really start to freak out. You're like, okay, so mine needs to like be the best thing these person's ever seen if I'm gonna do it for there. And you start to get inside your own head and overthink all of that stuff, and it causes you to procrastinate because you'll put it off because you know you'll never get it right. And it's the best thing I ever did, and this really won't work for everybody, but for me, the best thing that I do is not overthink anything that I do personally. I don't overthink it. I have an idea and I just do it. And that seems to work for me. Like for example, my logo follows no rules. It follows anything to do with logo design in general that you're taught. Every single one of those rules, I think mine breaks, because the fonts are, some of them are in jaunty angles. They're not all the same size. They're not aligned. It's just a sort of a jaunty thing that's meant to look like a representation of what goes on inside my head, which is just a jumbling of just idiocy. So I just wanted it to look a little bit quirky and a little bit weird. And I wanted everything to be bright and enjoyable. I wanted people to know that they can come to me and feel comfortable and will enjoy the process of working for ourselves. We'll enjoy the process of working together, and we'll end up with something cool at the end. And so I thought, right, sweet, yellow, happiness. That's just going to make everything look nice, bright and funny. And And I thought, I need to just think of a couple of quick ideas, get them down and throw them out. And then that'll be fine. And that's kind of where I just came up with like the branding for like the logo and the general look of all my stuff. And then everything else, when it comes to my tone of voice, when I put out stuff on social or on LinkedIn or YouTube, again, very little thought into it. And I wouldn't recommend that for everybody because, you know, that would probably be a car crash for a lot of people. I don't know how it works for me. It does, because I'm much better when I'm off the cuff. Like I've given a couple of talks to people, and I very rarely prepare for them. I'll prepare like a few things that I'm obviously going to speak, but I don't prepare like notes and stuff, just because for me personally, that's the recipe for an absolute car crash. Me being over prepared means me being very stale and very just, you know, for me, I am at my best when I am completely winging it, essentially. You know, just off the cuff and just trying to figure out stuff on the spot. And that's when I can pick out things from the back of my head that I wouldn't be able to pick out if I was sitting writing notes. That they wouldn't come to me. They'll come to me if I'm in a sort of a forceful situation and I have to just go for it. So I kind of treat all of my own personal stuff, whether it's writing a post or thinking of what I'm going to do for a video, I'll not give myself much time to do it. I'll just go, go, just think.
That's done. That's
what
done.
Comes
Get
out,
it
what
done.
comes out.
That's it.
And it comes, get it done. Because I did go through a stage of over-analyzing everything and overthinking it. And even if you do that, if you spend a week thinking about something and over-analyzing it, it can still, you know, fail. And it probably will. Whereas if you spend just 10 minutes thinking about it and throwing it out and it fails, that's fine. Both of those can be fixed. You know, if you throw something out on social and it fails, it's the beautiful thing about it is hardly anybody's seen it. It doesn't matter. And even if they do see it, it'll stay in their memory for about 30 seconds. And then they've moved on to the next thing. It really doesn't matter. You shouldn't spend too much time, you know, chastising yourself and kind of over-analyzing all these kind of things, and just put stuff out. See if it works. You need to just test things. See if they work. If they don't, change them. If they do, stick with them and try and improve on them, and blah, 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 blah. So that's the way I've approached the posts that I've put out. And again, I'm not, you know, I have a very modest following on all of my social platforms. And so I'm not being Johnny Big Balls or anything, but it's working for me because it's bringing in the work that I need. So I think it's still encouraging to see people that have modest followings that are still doing quite well from them. So yes, I hope that's answered your question.
No, yes, it's definitely answered, because like everyone has their own set of flow that works for them. So usually people looking to this podcast, I and they will recommend that is create your own flow. Don't copy others. Instead, you can get inspiration from them.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving further to the next question of this podcast, which is like, what's your design process? So like if you're designing anything, what will be the process? Like, I know you are quick and excellent enough to make it done very fast. Do you follow any process? So like even I have a process of my own designing. So like what's your process of designing?
So again, I tend to throw out a load of ideas very quickly, because what you tend to do, or certainly what I tend to do, is I'll choose logos as an example for this. So once you've had an initial conversation with someone about the industry that they're in, what their business is called, what their target audience is, what they want them to feel, all of that kind of stuff you want to know before you approach a logo project. Because we are conditioned in a certain way and visual creatures, we've seen a lot of other people's previous work. a lot of obvious ideas will pop into your head first. You know, if you're working for a construction company, and you'll see all of those really obvious images that relate to construction. And so quite often what I will do is start sketching the really obvious stuff, you know, the stuff that's like the cliche stuff. I'm trying to think of an example, really. So if I said to you social media, what would you picture? You would picture like a thumb up, yes. And you would picture a speech bubble and all those kind of really obvious cliched things. I make it part of my process to get all that stuff out on paper, so it's out of my head and I can ignore it. It kind of helps me to get all the cliched stuff out, so I then don't think about it again. Draw it all out, and it's kind of like exercising the demons of the obvious stuff that you will think of. And as you're kind of drawing that stuff out, and you just kind of carry on, there's a template I have on my iPad, which is 20 boxes on a single page.
Canva, in a single canvas.
And yeah. And quite often I will challenge myself to fill those 20 boxes as quickly as I physically can do. So just an idea, sketch in one box, idea, sketch in one box, idea, fill them up. And you might fill them up with something you will never use. But in there will be the beginning. You'll start, anyway, the way I start with it is generally like the first sort of 10 or 12 boxes or stuff that I would never go anywhere near. They'll be the really, really obvious stuff as you're kind of making yourself just think on the spot and throw things out. Really, really obvious, really, really obvious. And then when you get to the 12th or the 13th box, you're out of stuff. So you're like, oh damn, okay, now what? Quick, go. And that kind of, for me, again, anyway, forces me to then try and think a little bit differently, because the obvious stuff has been spent. I'm not going to use that, but it's out of my head. Now I need to think of something different. So now you need to spin it on its head and try and think of just different stuff. You've got 7 or 8 more boxes to fill, and you're out of ideas. And sometimes I can't imagine that kind of style working for everybody, but for me, that little mini pressure that I put on myself can really spark some ideas that I don't think I would come up with otherwise if I was just sitting, you know, nice and calmly, just kind of trying to put some ideas together. I enjoy just putting a bit of pressure on myself to throw out as many ideas as possible and just see what happens. And even when the 20 are filled, I still might not have something I'm happy with, but I'll have started a process of taking the initial idea somewhere else, somewhere completely different than it was when it started on box 1 to box 20. Somewhere in there, a little gem will have appeared that I can then build on. So when it comes to logos specifically, that's kind of where I take. Sometimes I'm really lucky and I'll have an idea instantly and I'm like, oh, that's what I need to do with this. But more often than not, I'll need to do something like that to try and, you know, get my head into a different space where I can think of something a little bit more interesting than the norm.
And what is the fastest design that you've ever done? Like this one was the fastest.
Damn. I normally give people three ideas, especially with logo stuff. So like, here's 3 different concepts.
3 samples that you can.
Yeah, here's the 3 concepts. Here's my thought behind them. Let's now talk about, you know, how we can take these forward and that kind of stuff.
I got it.
Yeah, so I think the fastest one I ever did, this was for a logo for a restaurant, and I came up with one idea, and I was so happy with it that I physically couldn't think of anything else after I thought of this one. And I always present people with 3. It's like my rule. I've done it for so long. It's like this little sort of process that I go through that seems to work. So I use it all the time. But this time I had one really strong idea and I thought, oh damn, this is the one. I can't think of anything else. So I put all my eggs in one basket. I jumped on a call with them and I said, right, I told you I was going to present you with 3 logos, but I'm not, because I've nailed it in one. And that's a cocky statement. I said, I've got it. I've thought of it. I'm going to tell you exactly why. I broke down everything we'd spoken about previously. They had all of these, they had this plan they were taking forward. They had this, these ethics and stuff they were bringing to the brand. And with the sort of the piece they were talking about, there were 3 main aspects to it. And I thought of a way to put all those 3 in one very, very simple shape that just kind of got it. So I thought, if they don't like this, I'm screwed, because I don't think I can think of anything better than this. This is the one. They have to go for this. So I kind of put all my eggs in one basket. I said, right, I'm presenting you with one. This is why I've done it, and here it is. And thankfully, they absolutely loved it.
Oh.
So that was a relief. Jeez, that would have been awful otherwise.
So obviously, if they have rejected it, if they have rejected that logo, then that would have wasted a lot of your time, because basically even it happened with me as well. Like, even I was designing an social media banner for a client, so his requirement was to pitch an offer for a cosmetic product. So like, what can I do with a cosmetic? Because like, I have given, because that client was so rude that she want new design in every new requirement that she gives. So like, if I have used an color, if I'm using a color scheme of orange and pale orange and a yellow, she never wants to see that color again till that billing cycle completes. So like, I went to a design, I saw a template. So like, people were using magenta and a dark purple with a little bit shadow of a grayish type. So like, I took that design, I copied that color code and I started designing for her. And luckily, she saw that design. She just dropped that WhatsApp. This was one of your best work. No revisions. Like, oh my God. I blessed God that day. Like, I escaped. So usually, if she start giving revisions, it goes up to 8 to 10 revisions for each post. So that was the one post which I got no revisions.
Yeah.
And
nice.
so like, I yelled at my mom, like, Mom, finally she didn't give any revisions. So even though me and my mom sit near, my mom said that, how long will it take to complete a design? So like, no more. So she's giving revision again and again. So like, call her and give it to me. I will talk to her. Like, Mom, she knows only English. She doesn't know Hindi. So if she knows Hindi, so I would have given to her.
Nice.
So that was one of my like fastest work that I've ever done. Like, that took me around like 15 minutes. It hardly took 15 minutes to complete that 1018 to 1080 square image for a social media Instagram post campaign. So it worked well. And even though that engagement and the conversion was also good. So like, the client was happy for that post. So like, coming to the next question about Doodle Juice. So recently I've completed 6 years of Doodle Juice. So like, how's Doodle Juice going, and how did the name came up, like Doodle Juice design? DJD.
God, why did the name come about? I thought of it years and years and years ago. Like maybe like 10 years ago. And I think I wanted something, I think the idea came from like, creative juice. You say like you get those creative juices flowing. And because I draw a lot, even on a non-illustrative project, it generally starts with a sort of a sketch and sort of doodles. So everything from what I do is built on doodles. It starts with doodles, no matter how it ends up. And doing the doodle helps get the creative juice flowing. So it's kind of, my creative process is my doodle juice. I've since discovered on Urban Dictionary that doodle juice means something else. So I thought of, I think it was around 2009, 2010-ish that I came up with that name. And there's an entry on Urban Dictionary I think it was created in 2016. So I know that I thought of mine first, but there's a definition on Urban Dictionary for doodle juice that you should Google, and you'll see what it means on there. It means something very different than what I think it means.
Let me just.
It's much funnier if you read it rather than me say it.
And sweet nectar that comes out and oh, what the thank God I didn't read it louder. Guys, you should Google this. You should Google this. You have to Google this.
So yeah, that's what Urban Dictionary thinks it means, but I came up with it before that. So I'm happy for it to mean either of those things.
Because that's going good for you. So nobody gives a damn about that meaning.
Yeah. So it either means what I decided it meant, or it means man gravy. One of the two things.
So heading to the last question of this podcast, like, what's about free silly?
Sorry?
Free silly.
Yeah, I do see. So this is a good example of an idea that hasn't worked. I wanted to create a community people of creative people that don't give themselves enough time to play. I think a massive part of being creative is that we're all children who haven't really grown up. And so we want to get into a creative job. Then you find when you get into a creative job, like any other job, a lot of the day-to-day stuff takes away from the original fun stuff you enjoyed about doing it. And I've spoken to a lot of people who have fallen out of love with what they do because of that. You know, when you have client briefs, and some people just fall into this kind of rut that they just become yes men. They just become design monkeys, design puppets, who people just end up dictating to them what they should do. And they've stopped thinking for themselves. They've stopped advising people. They've stopped pushing their ideas. And they've just gone, yeah, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Bang, bang, bang. There you go, done. And that starts to kill people. So because I've kind of I've found this nice balance of splitting my week up from client work and then doing some stupid things. There's a video I'm releasing tomorrow on my YouTube channel, which is I got my friend to write a song for it. It's a metal song. The whole idea behind the video is just I'm angry, so I want to draw something, and it's a really stupid video, right? But I had a blast making it, and so that took it took a good couple of days to get the illustration together, do the editing for the video, work on the lyrics for the song, all that kind of stuff. It took like a few days, and I'm pretty sure like no one's gonna watch it. But I had an
I will watch it.
blast.
I'll watch it. I have some.
Thanks, man. So it'll have one view. So so
no, 2 views.
That's why I'm not too bothered.
I have to. You will get 2 views.
Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks, dude. I'll watch it as well when it goes up. So that's 3. That's why I'm not too. I'm genuinely not that bothered. On a lot of my YouTube videos have very, very little views, very few views. I'm fine with that, because like it's like going out to a party, having a really good time at the party, and then coming back and being annoyed that no one liked your post about the party. Who cares? You had a good time.
You enjoyed
And that's the kind of the way I feel about, that's kind of the way I feel about the videos. I have an obscene amount of fun putting those together. And if it's seen by like 10, 20 people, that's cool. I had a blast doing it. And that's the more important part to me, because it helps me stay sane during the week. You know, it gives me an opportunity to just go and do a stupid idea that I've had, and I'll put it out. And if it does well, brilliant. But if it doesn't, it's not that important, because it's still the process putting it together was fun. So I've spoken to a lot of people who have lost that side of their creativity because they've got bogged down with a job and they stopped enjoying it. So the Free Silly thing was a Discord server that I wanted to start to get creatives on board, give them challenges, we'd all have fun, and it would become this place where people would learn to have fun with their creativity again. And I started to set some challenges, and but it didn't really work. It didn't really take. I just find that people weren't. No, I tell you the thing I think went wrong with it. I should have made it only for illustrators or only for designers. I made it for creatives, and a load of people jumped in, which I'm very grateful for. Like, this isn't me having to go at anybody. There were photographers in there, videographers in there, people who paint, like loads and loads of things. And all of a sudden, the challenges that I had lined up, I couldn't make them work for everybody, because they would have become like this diluted version to work for everybody else. So I threw out a couple of challenges, and only really a handful of people ever got involved. And I probably could have kept going with it, but it kind of felt like it wasn't gaining the sort of the traction. And with me, I try loads. Yeah, with me, I try loads of different things. And if I'm not enjoying them, even after like a couple of months of doing them, then I probably need to stop or change the direction. So I've kind of, that Discord server is still up.
No, I just saw because like I'm not a Discord devil. So basically, I've recently started using Discord. So I'm creating a Discord for my audiences and my creative people as well. So basically, like, even though I need to sit and think like what I can do for my audiences, like a pole dance or something crazy related to that.
Yeah.
So like
so it's still going. It's still going, but we've reduced the number of people in there massively to a really small group of people who we're now trying to help each other work on our passion projects. So, you know, whatever you want to do outside of work. And it's down to a nice little number now of people who actually want to try and do things. So it's kind of turned into something different than I originally planned, but I prefer the way it's gone now, because it's kind of a little bit more meaningful, because it's a smaller group of people kind of doing cool things.
Quality,
so I'm happy
quality works.
Where it's ended up. Yeah. It's not what I originally planned, but that's cool, because what I originally planned was probably a stupid idea.
That's life.
It is, and that's cool.
So heading to the last question. So usually I ask this question to all of my audiences, those who are being the guest of my digital Brandator show. So like, what's the 2 achievement that you have achieved till date and you will never forget for the rest of your life?
2 things I've already achieved.
Yes.
What that I will be proud of for the rest of my life. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Damn. Interesting. Probably, like, I'm one of those people, like, I'm insanely grateful for everything that I have. It's one of the reasons that I'm very rarely angry about anything, because like all of the little things that all of the little things that happen during the day, I'm normally able to step back and go, all of my limbs work, I can breathe, I can see, I have a roof over my head, I have a wife. Like someone was stupid enough to marry me. That's amazing.
That's so sweet.
I get to draw stuff for a living, which is like for the vast majority of the time is on my own terms, and all of that stuff I'm insanely proud of. There's loads and loads of things, other things that I want to do, but like I have a really solid foundation to do other things now, and it's kind of the first time. Like I'm 41, and it's the first time.
You don't look 41. You are
Thank
like
you,
just.
You mean I look 51?
No. You are just elder than me, like 5 to 6 years. Like I am 24, and you are just 28 or 27, something like that.
24.
Yes, you are still young man.
Disgusting.
Not, I'm not joking.
Disgusting.
I am serious, bro. I don't lie. I'm a heartly kind guy. I don't lie.
Yeah. Age is bollocks. So, but this is the first time, in my life that I do feel like I'm in a really good place. That sounds like such a crap thing to say, but like at any other point in my life, I was like miserable with the job that I had, or we weren't happy with where we were living, and like the money wasn't enough, and all that kind of crap. It's taken me 40 years to sort all that crap out. And some people do it sooner than that. Some people take longer than that. You know, there's no right or wrong.
That's the philosophy of everyone's faith.
Yeah, I think in terms of like what I would be most proud of would be having the is confidence the right word? Having the confidence to go out on my own and try something that I hadn't tried before, which was working for myself, and just kind of. And I'm also really grateful to my wife, because we literally just bought this house that I'm sitting in. We just bought it, and about 6 months later, I said, "I'm gonna quit the job that I have, by the way, and work on my own. It probably means that I won't earn as much for a while I'm trying to build that up. I know we've just bought a house. Is that cool with you?" And she was like, "Yeah, do it. You'll be fine." So that was so big props to her for that. But yeah, I think that's the main thing, dude, because it's changed. Like for me, it's been an absolute game changer, life changer. I didn't realize how much I am perfectly wired as someone who needs to work on their own for themselves and just be left the hell alone. I didn't fully realize that was the way I work best until I started doing it. So thankfully it's worked really well for me. But that's that's my main thing. I'm really glad that I bit the bullet when I did. A lot of people do it a lot earlier than I did it. I was 36, 37 when I did it. And I've gone through stages of thinking, God, I wish I did this sooner. But actually, I think if I did it sooner, I would have failed at it. I think I would have done really badly because I wasn't properly equipped with the knowledge and the hunger for it that I had when I did it. So I think if I had done it any earlier, it would have crashed and burned. So I don't regret not doing it any earlier. I'm just really thankful that I did it at all. That would be my thing.
So those are like good achievements that you have did in your life, and there's a lot more to come. So because age is just a number.
Exactly. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully there'll be other stuff.
Because if you think good, life will give you good.
I agree.
Okay, so that's a wrap on this podcast. And if you like this podcast, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel and as well as Dave's channel. I'll be adding his channel's link and LinkedIn profile to the description. So peace out.
Thank you, man.